Well, good day, good day, good day, and grand rising to all of you out there. Welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Mindset with me, your host, Michelle Green. I know it's been a while since I've been here speaking to you all. I've just been transitioning, I guess is the right word. I've been working on a very special project, and it's been taking a lot of my time. So I haven't had much time to podcast. However, I decided that because I'm getting so many questions about the project that I'm working on in my DMs and emails and etc., I decided I'm going to just compile a bunch of these questions that I'm getting and answer them in a podcast episode like this one. So, this episode is called Ask Me Anything. So, the first question. First, I'd like to say welcome to the listeners. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. The first question that somebody asked me here is: how did your personal journey through grief lead you to help other widows? Well, for those of you who don't know, I lost my husband to COVID 19 early 2021. And really, that loss and that grief and that journey really shaped my mission, because now I support other widows in their journey to help them find their peace and their healing and their acceptance after the loss of their husband or their spouse. So that's really how the journey brought me to this place, because of my own loss and my own grief. And I, chose to empower myself and turn my grief into growth. So I hope that answers that question. Second question: what is the biggest challenge widows face when navigating grief and loss? Wow, that's a good question, and it's a big question, and it's a huge answer. I find that I've been speaking to widows now for over a year, and I find that the biggest challenge, among many challenges, is the day to day living without that spouse, that person who you may bounce ideas off of, or go shopping with, or go on a road trip. You guys grab a couple coffees and decide to hit the road in the car. Whatever it is, I find that the day to day missing that spouse is a big challenge for widows, along with the loneliness, um, isolation, um, and feeling stuck and lost, stuck in the grief, like in the overwhelming feeling as if the grief is just weighing them down. So that, or these, are the biggest challenges I find speaking to widows, and as well as excuse me, from my own experience and my own journey. Next question: how do you help widows regain control over their lives and their emotions? Great question. Well, I have created a program called the Renewal Method. And the Renewal Method is a widow support program, and it's hosted and run and guided by me. And so, how I help widows, to answer the question, regain control of their lives and their emotions. Well, first of all, I help them with their grief. I help them to understand their grief, because you have to understand it in order to go through it and in order to find your acceptance. So, understanding your grief is the number one step to healing. So, that's the first thing I guide them through. The second is I cultivate a circle of trust, right? A community of widows who are walking the same path, regardless of where they are in their journey, all walking the same path, all sharing their experiences, all supporting each other. Um, because I find that if you haven't suffered this particular kind of loss, then you really don't know what it is or how it feels, and what us widows, I'll put myself in there, what us widows actually go through. So by cultivating this circle of trust, um, I am giving this to widows or helping widows to help each other and support each other through this time of their grief and their growth. So I hope that answers the question. Next question. Why is it important to address the emotional waves and overwhelming grief that widows feel? Well, that's a very good question. It's very important for us as human beings, not just widows, but as human beings. It's very important for us to recognize our emotions and understand where they are coming from, as well as working through them in order to move forward. So it's very important because as a widow, you do get these waves of emotion. One minute you could be fine, you're talking on the phone to your sister or you're having a coffee with a friend. And the next minute something happens, a smell, a sound, a song, a person walking down the street that looks like him. Could be anything that triggers that wave of emotions, right? Triggers that wave of emotions. So it is very important to address these emotional waves when it comes to our grief and our grief journey. Next question. What are the benefits to setting healthy boundaries during the grief journey? Well, couldn't have asked me a better question. I love this topic. I love, 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 love this topic because setting boundaries can be a very lonely place. I'm going to tell you that right now. It can be very lonely because those who are around you that you have not set any boundaries with, and now all of a sudden you're setting boundaries, these people are going to be very uncomfortable. And most of them will put their comfort above yours and just walk away, right? But in order for us to grieve and protect our grief, protect our space, protect our hearts, protect our mental health, we need to be able to set these healthy boundaries. Again, to protect our mental health, to foster emotional growth. And I help these widows um, to build their emotional intelligence muscles, if you will. And in turn, them feeling more in control of their lives. So this is the benefit or one of the benefits of setting boundaries. And I really go deep into that in the renewal method. But boundaries, I love the subject because they're awesome. I don't know how else to put it. Setting boundaries are, it's like self-care, your well-being, not physical self-care, but your mental well-being and care. So setting boundaries is very, very important. Next question. Why am I interviewing widows for my research? Great question. Like I said before, I have developed a program called the Renewal Method Widow Support Program. And I have been interviewing widows over the past year in every different stage of the grief journey. Whether you've lost your husband last week, or a month ago, or a year ago, or 6 years ago, or 10 years ago, every stage of the journey I've been speaking. Oop, I just hit my mic. I'm sorry. I've been speaking to widows and gaining insight as to what their biggest challenges are and what their goals are and how they see their future and if they're stuck and how to get unstuck and things like finances. One minute you're a two income household, your husband dies, now you're a one income household. How do we deal with that? How do you pivot? How do you make an extra income? All of these things are things that I talk about in the program, and they're very important. So this is why, anyways, I am discussing um, with these widows the importance of understanding the personal struggles of widows, and it will help me better tailor my support resources that will really genuinely help widows to their healing and their peace and their acceptance. So that is why I'm talking with widows. And if there's anyone listening to this podcast right now who is a widow or who knows a widow, please send me a message, send me a DM, comment on this, somehow get in touch with me because I would love to hear your story. I would love to chat with you and get some insight. So that's for all the widows out there, or anybody who knows a widow. Thank you for asking that question. Next question. Let me check my time here. Okay, we got time for a couple more. Next question is why? Oh no, we asked that question already. Will how will this research improve the support that I offer through the renewal method? Ah, great question. The insights that I learn from speaking to these widows is going to help me or is helping me to develop better tools and programs to help widows transform their grief into growth, just as I did, right? So, um, it, the research that I'm doing in turn, it's going to help other widows. So even if it's helping, I find that speaking to these widows, it does help them to talk to me and to get things off their chest, and also to get some to be in a safe space where there's no judgment and be able to get some things off of their chest. It also helps because I'm a widow myself. I've been there, done that, walk the walk. I can talk the talk, right? I'm not some counselor or some psychologist, which I am, but I'm not some counselor or psychologist or life coach, which I am as well, who has not lost a spouse and has no idea how it feels to be a widow. I am a widow who helps widows. So I have been there, and I think that is what sets me apart from the rest of the bereavement counseling or the grief counseling or the widow support groups out there. Okay, a couple more questions. How can widows reach out and participate in my research? Well, that's a great question. You can reach out any way you can. I'm on Instagram, Michelle Green, grief specialist. I'm on Facebook, Michelle Green, life coach. I am You can send me a DM. You can comment on my posts on Instagram or Facebook. My phone number, my email, all of those things are attached to my Instagram and my Facebook. So anyone who wants to participate in my research and share their journey and their story with me, I would really appreciate it. And you can reach out to me anytime in those ways on all of the socials. I'm there. Next question. What makes the renewal method different from other grief support programs? Well, great question. I'm unique. My program is unique because I combined my personal experience, like I mentioned before. I am a widow. So I can speak it. I've walked the walk, so I can talk the talk. So I combine my personal experience and my professional expertise as a life coach, as a psychologist, as a grief counselor, right? And I use all of these together to help these widows to rebuild their lives um, with hope and purpose. And like I said, because I am a widow myself, that sets me apart from all the other widow support programs. Because, like I said, I'm walking the walk, I can talk the talk. And one more question, I guess. Let's see here. One more question. How has helping widows helped you in your own healing journey? Well, that's a great question as well. Helping widows has helped me on my own healing journey because being a widow sucks. It's hard. It hurts. There's days when you cry all day. There's days when you don't want to get out of bed. There's days when you don't want to shower. There's days when you isolate yourself from your family and friends. You don't answer the phone, you don't answer the door, you don't open your computer, you turn your phone off, and you just sit in your grief and wallow in your grief. And so how it's helped me in my journey is I decided not to sit in my condo in the fetal position, and cry and never shower and all of the things that I wanted to do. Believe me, in my grief, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to even shower. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was sick with grief, ill with grief. And so helping other widows through that is so satisfying for me because I know I'm living proof. I am living, breathing proof that you can make it through. You can make it through to the other side and be happy and find purpose and even love again, right? So I'm living proof that it's possible. And so helping other widows is so satisfying and gratifying for me because I just love it when I see them get to that other side of peace and acceptance and start doing things to maybe even help other widows or help other people or do other things. You know, they start companies or they do artwork or they do whatever. But I find that me helping other widows has given me purpose, right? And it's not the only purpose in my life. Obviously, I'm a GG. I've got, a lot of things going on. But helping other widows has given me a sense of purpose along my own healing journey. So I love it. It's my mission. And yeah, that's it. It gives me purpose. I guess that's the answer to the question. All right. So as we wrap up today, I want to remind you that if you're a widow, you don't have to walk this journey alone. I am here to support. It is what I do. It's what I love to do, and it is my mission. So if any of what I've shared resonates with you or anyone you know who might be feeling stuck and unsure um, on how to move forward, I encourage you to reach out. And if you know a widow who this might resonate with, I encourage you to encourage them to reach out. I would love to connect with you or connect with them because together we can find a path to healing, peace, and a renewed sense of purpose, right? So that's this episode of Let's Talk Mindset with me, your host, Michelle Green. I hope I answered some of your questions. Now, that wasn't even half the questions that I got in my DMs or the list that I have. That was like only 2 pages. I've got about 15. So I probably will do another episode like this again, which is Ask Me Anything. And you can send your questions in through DM, Facebook, Instagram, however you do it, YouTube, however. And I will be happy to address them again. And again, if this resonates with you as a widow or somebody that you know, I would really appreciate that you forward this episode to them because I'd like to speak with them. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate you. Ciao.